Thrifters! Today I'm going to take you on one of my crocheting journeys. I've been crocheting a long time. I'm not actually professionally trained or took any classes on it. I just do as I do, and I rarely follow patterns and have been able to come up with some pretty cool things. This is my favorite. It is made out of cotton. It just lays right. It's soft. The single pearl square in the center helps it to lay nice and flat, and you may recognize it from our contact page on our website. This doily, a much simpler and actually my least favorite I've ever made. I'll let you know why in a moment. However, this one is one of my favorite I've ever made. And the reason being, it was made with yarn that is 1/4 the size of the yarn of the white one. Although both yarns are super nice and thrifted and cute, for a doily, it's nicer to have a smaller yarn. Continuing on from the doilies, you can create a bag. This one has a pretty loose bottom, and I believe that I will need to line it if I want to use it as a bag. This one has a tighter bottom, and so I don't think I actually need to line it. Crocheting has turned into my couch craft, so I have definitely developed a few patterns or a rhythm of patterns that I really enjoy and I can do mindlessly and have fun with. So, this circular method that kind of starts as a doily and expands is truly my favorite crocheting style. So, my first attempt at making a blanket is obviously starting as that, but has expanded a lot. I know I have a lot more to go, and I promised myself I wouldn't start another project if this wasn't finished, but that was a lie. And I'm hoping that I actually finish this one soon. There are so many types of yarns that can be used while crocheting. This first one is actually crocheting thread, and it is used traditionally for doilies, but this is not the thread that I'm going to use today. These two skeins are 100% wool and are still very fine, or thin, although much larger than the crocheting thread. Typically 100% wool yarn like this is pretty expensive, but that's why thrifting is so awesome. This vintage Karen white thread is very traditional and would be the same size as the red heart here, which is great for many projects, but just not this one. Onto the crocheting hooks, which can be quite intimidating at first, but upon realization, it's pretty simple. Most skeins of yarns will tell you what size hook you need, but if not, as a standard, the larger the yarn, the larger the hook, which is this hook right here. But this is not my favorite size hook. I usually use a 5.75 or a 6mm. This is strictly because of comfort. When using larger yarn than anything I have shown you today, or if you are a beginner, it is great to start with a larger hook. Also, using a larger hook will help you to learn what tension works for you. Just as a sneak peek, and also because we're talking about yarn, I recently picked up a Lions brand chenille yarn at a thrift store, and I'm super excited about it. I am using a different pattern than what I'm teaching today, but this will be used for a project to come, so tune back to see what I do with this yarn. Alright, to now start crocheting. So when you start with a fresh skein of yarn, you want to make sure that you pull the yarn from the side of it that is coming out instead of in the front that is wrapped around the label. Because if you pull from the label area instead of the center of the yarn, it will just wad up into a giant yarn ball. Creating an X with the yarn on your fingers, you're going to then loop the back piece through it, creating a knot that can be removed. So you'll see you can go boop and remove it. So then you wrap it around your fingers, create an X, take the tail, bring it behind, pull it through, leaving that tail still in the back, holding it tight, and creating the loop. Grab your crocheting hook. I'm going to use a 6mm, my favorite. Since my thread is thinner and my hook is a little larger, it is going to create a bit of space, but since I'm making a doily, I kind of like that aesthetic. Put the hook through the loop, tighten it, and put your tail with the hook in your right hand. If you're left-handed, it'll be in your left hand, but hold that tight, but not too tight, because you need your tension right when you're crocheting. Wrap the yarn from behind across the top of your hook. Hold on to the little tab where you created it and pull it through. Wrap it behind, hold the tail, pull it through. Wrap behind, pull the tail, pull it through. Wrap behind, pull it through. Once you've made a chain about 4 to 6, depending on how long you want it to be, you're going to put it in to the end of the chain where you started. Pulling it through, you're going to grab that top yarn that is coming from the skein, wrap it around again, and completely creating a loop that could be a ring. Continuing on, I'm going to use a double purl in a granny square method to build out on my doily. Having to do this about 8 times, going through the center, double purling, going through the center, double purling, I'm able to create a solid base for my doily. Now that I've gone completely around, it's time to start the second row. Using the double purl, I am moving up to the second row, and you can see that it's jumping in height. Now that we are on the second row, I'm going to create a chain with about 3 notches in it. I'm going to skip one of the holes and then move on to the next one because I created 3, jump 1, create 3, jump 1, and I continue to do this until I finish the complete circle around again. This is my favorite part of crocheting, when every row that you get to create a new pattern. This one I did a chain of 3, skipped 1, did a chain of 3, skipped 1, but in the next row I can do 2, skip 1, maybe do 4 and skip 2. This is truly where you get to be creative. When you are finished, you can cut the thread and continue to make a small chain, which will allow you to completely finish off your piece. Thanks for watching, and if you make your own doily, be sure to comment below and show pictures of what you do. Oh, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more thrifted lifestyle videos.